All right, everyone. Today we have a Q&A that is so juicy with me. This is actually recorded as an Instagram live and you guys were frothing at your seats. I didn't get to go through every single question, but we saved them. So I really need to put them on my Instagram story actually as well. So we'll do that soon. Anyway, there's actually a bunch of highlights on my Instagram anyway with so many Q&As that I've done before. We saved them all in the highlights. So you can check out those highlights nonetheless if you're new here and you just kind of want to binge a bunch of like question and answer stuff. But nonetheless, today's Q&A was really good. It was about an hour, I think, or so, maybe 50 minutes. I always say I'm going to do it for 30 minutes, then it's like an hour because it just like I'm like lit up and just so on fire. We talked about such a range of things, really a lot about obviously getting your man to lead, stepping into feminine energy, trauma healing. We talked about motivation. We talked about procrastination. We talked about money mindset. We talked a little bit about business and masculine structure. We talked about nervous system work. I feel like we just talked about it all. So today's episode is a juicy Q&A. The list of everything that we spoke about in kind of order will be in the description below. So if you want to jump back to a certain section or whatever to re-listen to the answer again, you totally can. So you can make the most of the education that I give you guys in the episode. Please, 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 if you haven't already, leave a review on the podcast, on the Apple like podcast thing, a written one. They mean the world to me. They really help other people to find the podcast because it gives it like a little bit of a boost. And I'm sure you guys as an avid listener have appreciated how much I've been able to offer you. And I want others to be able to have the same experience as well and actually find out that this podcast exists. So please, please, please leave a review. Literally, it takes 1 second, not 1 second. It takes about 25 seconds to leave one. I've timed it myself. 25 seconds to leave like 2 sentences. I read them myself and you can take a screenshot, send it to us, and we will then give you a little gift in return for saying thank you. Last thing I'll mention is I'm using a different microphone on the Instagram live. So it might just feel like there's a bit of a swap in like the sound. And I was also in my office, which doesn't have like soundproofing and it's a really high ceiling. So the sound will like change a tiny little bit. But you'll get used to it within like a minute or so. And then it won't even sound any different. And trust me when I say like, do not tune out of this one because the questions and the answers were just like that fucking good. All right. I'll see you guys on the other side. Okay. So, oh my God, which one do we even start with? Let's start with like a fun one. Okay. Fun one. Okay. Here's a good one. Do you use lube? If so, what kind? I found some of the natural ones dry up quickly. So I don't use lube. We often have a little bit of the other problem. The other side of the end, the other side of the stick. The other end of the stick. It's the end of the day. So just excuse me if my words are not coming to me very easily. Also, just dropped into luteal phase. So we're feeling it. I don't use the lube, but the best lube is coconut oil. That's what I will tell you. The best lube, if you need lube, is 100% coconut oil, especially because it's oil. So it doesn't like just get absorbed if it's like water-based. So that one. Okay. Let's also do this little fun one and then we'll dive on into more of the juicy, like questions that we're all really hanging out for. Any tips on hair care, like hair serum / brush you use? Love your hair. Okay. I get hair questions all the time. And I know that people hate this answer, but I naturally have long, thick hair. At my bridal shower this weekend, one of the questions that was asked, we were like playing a game once my fiance arrived. And one of the questions was who uses more hair product? And he uses more hair product. He uses one piece of hair product, which is hair gel, but I just use zero product unless I'm like unless I'm like styling my hair or something for an event, then I might put in something, but I use literally no product because I'm just that person where I'm like, I have to take off my to-do list, not add on. That's why I never have my nails painted. That's why I don't get my eyelashes done. Like it took me fucking 5 years to get my eyebrows done again. That's because I'm just very low maintenance, which sometimes people don't expect that I'm very low maintenance, but I am. Like I'm very quick to get ready in the morning. My makeup takes me like 3 minutes. Anyway, total side note. Okay. I'm going to answer this one as well because I am also excited for this one. When I saw the question, it made me happy. What are you most looking forward to about being a mom? This question. Okay. I was thinking about it and I'm like, everything. I feel like what I'm most looking forward to about being a mom is just the fact that there is a physical manifestation of our love. It hit me a while ago when it's the sensation of when you are making really deep love. It's like you want it to become like a thing so that you can hold it, look at it, because like it just feels like the physical, like the feeling of the love between you and your partner feels so good that you want it to like become a thing that you can touch, hold, see, etc. Like you never want to be without this love. And I realized that love is a child, like making love, and then the love is the child. Anyway, I'm like, we are pure love. So I feel like I'm just most excited for that. And I'm also excited to just be well entertained. I feel like we're going to have, if we have a daughter, I'm just like, okay, imagine a mini version of me. Anyway, so that's what I'm probably most excited for. And just the fact that I love kids and I'm excited for the challenge, and I'm just for all of it, honestly, all of it. Yeah. So how to lower cortisol other than tapping, dancing, sun exposure, and cold water. I'm so puffy. Okay. So this is where you need to figure out your unconscious stress. When I see that shit on Instagram where people just say like, this is how you reduce your cortisol levels, or this is how you regulate your nervous system, and it's dunking your head in cold water or like whatever, like, or whatever, like random things it is. Yes, putting your feet in the grass is going to regulate your nervous system. Yes, the sun helps regulate your nervous system and lower cortisol. Yes, dancing. Yes, tapping. All of those things work, but they aren't going to work if there is a unconscious deep block. So you could be doing all of the things, but it feels like it's not working because there is something that is like way bigger than tapping, dancing, and cold water can get over, if that makes sense. So you need to figure out, what are my unconscious stresses? A lot of us are aware of our conscious stresses, and we often blame our conscious stresses for our burnout and for our nervous system dysregulation. So we blame like work, we blame, our kids, we blame our phone, whatever it is, but that's often not the actual cause of that intense stress. It's something underneath. And so you want to figure out what that underneath thing is. I mean, for example, I've had clients where the reason for the fact that they couldn't like heal from their burnout or their adrenal fatigue, it wasn't lack of trying, it wasn't lack of supplements or herbs or sleeping or anything like that. It was because their body felt like they constantly needed to be looking out for their dad, because their dad was very erratic growing up. So their body was still constantly in that kind of fight or flight. So once you heal that, then all of a sudden the supplements are working, the tapping is working, the grounding is working, and all of those things. So you want to make sure that these extra things that you're doing them on top of a solid foundation. You aren't planting vegetables in soil that has no nutrients in it. The vegetables aren't going to grow. So if your soil, as in if you don't have any nutrients in it, AKA you've got all of this shit still, the stuff that you're planting on top, the tapping, the dancing, the grounding, it's not going to feel like it's doing anything. So hopefully that helps. Okay. So you want to figure out what's really underneath that thing, and then work on somatically and mentally and energetically, all of it, getting rid of it. All right. Help. Dating. When you don't want to talk to anyone but them, but you aren't exclusive. So I'm assuming you are asking that you want to become exclusive, or that you need to like not be anxiously attached. I'll just say this, ladies. Let me just say this. If you are looking to meet your husband, a man that is so fucking committed to you, when he meets you, he ain't out dating other women if he's in that season of life, that phase of life where he's like, I want to settle down, right? If he's in the season of life where he's just kind of still fucking around, having fun, like everyone's entitled to that, he's not going to settle down with you and marry you because he's not ready. So don't put yourself through that. Like if there isn't this feeling of he's only seeing me, then, or that you guys aren't exclusive and you want to be exclusive, and you've maybe mentioned that to him and it hasn't happened. If you are looking for a husband, then maybe just stop engaging with that. I'm going to say that. So many of us waste time believing that men are going to change or for us, or like they're going to choose us or whatnot, even when they're not in that season of life. And the hard truth is that like, that's just not really going to happen. Okay. So hopefully that helps, but you can ask a clarifying question if I get to it epic. Okay. How to inspire his emotional availability. You be emotionally available to yourself. So if you want him to be emotionally available to you, Are you emotionally available to yourself? Can you hold yourself in those moments of ugliness? Can you give yourself permission to fully cry and like be in that? Do you give yourself permission for your rage, for your anger, for your humanness? If you aren't available to your own emotions and honoring them and feeling them and seeing them, then don't expect him to do the same. Because the beautiful thing is in relationships, when it comes to like wanting to be in your dream relationship, is that yes, it takes two to tango, but it only actually takes one person to create a healthy relationship. Because most of the time, right? Like obviously there's some situations where it's like he's a lost cause, but most of the time, and the reason for this, and men, you can be that person that brings the health to the relationship too. The reason for this is that we mirror each other and we're mirroring each other's nervous system. So if you come into the relationship with this really cool, calm, grounded, regulated, clear communication, you stay regulated in motion in moments that can sometimes feel volatile or dysregulating to other people, that over time teaches them, oh, she's not going to reprimand me. She's not going to abandon me. She's not going to shame me if I'm emotional like my mom did or like my dad did. So it doesn't mean that it's just like, you're flicking a switch overnight, but you showing up in the way that you want him to show up to you over time is going to mean that he starts to do that because you're creating a safe space where his nervous system learns, oh, I don't have to get dysregulated anymore in this moment and get really defensive because she's not going to leave me, yell at me, reprimand me, etc. But his nervous system thinks that's the case, that you will do all of those things, reprimand me, yell at me, etc. His nervous system thinks that, or her nervous system thinks that because of previous years, previous relationships, childhood, teenage years, etc. So that's kind of what you want to think about. Advice. I feel like my man lacks emotional capacity. He loves and adores the bright, sunny side of me, however, rejects the dark side of me. Context. I'm generally pretty emotionally stable and happy, but like any women, I get emotional. Honey, I get it. It feels like he lacks empathy for that. Question, how to inspire? Okay, that was the question. I'll just say to this as well. It's again, do you reject the dark side of you? The parts of us that we reject, we will allow others to reject that part of ourselves as well. And let me just remind you guys, I am with so that you understand like this is possible for you. I am not with a man that comes to fucking tantric retreats with me and reads books about personal development and like is all conscious communicate. I am not with that kind of man. Like one time we were on a team meeting and we were like kind of talking about this and he goes, oh, what are those things that you told me about this weekend? Like Shakira's or something? I'm like, Shakira's? Babe, do you mean chakras? Like he has, my God, the best thing that came out of his mouth. He has no idea. And I love that about him. And I love it also because I really want you guys to know that if I can inspire his emotional availability, if I can help change his nervous system by him not doing any of this stuff, you have the ability to as well. Because I'm not sitting there coaching him like that. I do not do that. I am just the embodiment and they pick up on it after a while and it changes their behavior and their nervous system and programming. So by you just being the embodiment, not only do you win for yourself, it also is going to rub off on him as well. How to stay in feminine energy during the cycle, easy in ovulation, then it quote unquote switches off. So obviously, like I don't have any context for this, which is totally fine. So I'm just going to kind of roll with what comes through. And what comes through is being fluid with how you express your feminine energy, right? Like right now, I'm in fucking crunch time. I have less than 2 weeks until I am done with work for 6 weeks. I am trying to juggle fucking wedding shit, like, things not being able to get printed the way that I want. I'm just fucking dumb shit, right? And I'm also doing my clients, jumping on Instagram lives, getting every single thing ready for the launch of Magic Money Manifestation Level 2 when I'm away, getting everything ready for this bonus material that we're releasing for the Feminine CEO tomorrow. Like there is so many moving pieces, like doing content for Instagram, making Instagram posts. And so I'm in fucking crunch time. And so in my office behind closed doors, like I am sprinting, I am going, I am focused, and all of my energy right now is actually in my head. right? So I'm not just sitting here every day being like, oh, I'm so perfect, I'm in my feminine energy. But I know when I can go into more of, I just got to focus and go. And then when I can relax. So I've been like, go, go, go all day. And then before this Instagram live, I went and just lay outside, got into my bikini, lay outside in the sun for a little bit, just did some lights creation stuff that I had to do so I can recharge myself. After this Instagram live, I will then recharge myself as well. And then I will go into replying to my clients. So my point is that you have to be flexible with how you're expressing your feminine energy. I've just dipped into my luteal phase. So I'm like, okay, I need to just use the last bit of my energy that I can right now from like ovulation, because then I'm going to really have to honor that. So I don't like fucking die after these 2 weeks are over, and get sick or something. So you gotta change how you're in your feminine. When I'm in my ovulation phase, I am spicy, I am sassy, I am like boom, 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 boom. And then all of a sudden in luteal, I just want like cuddles and I just want to be touched and I want to be loved, and it's different. And so instead of thinking that you have to stay the same, you need to actually allow yourself to be fluid and different in each phase of your cycle. There's no one definition of feminine energy. Can any man become more masculine in response to feminine energy? When is it not possible? Yeah, any man can. It's not going to be possible if he doesn't want to. And there's this thing that I call lazy boy syndrome. I did an Instagram reel on it a while ago. We should probably do another one, actually. It was really good. It links to a blog post. And of course, it pissed people off in the comments. Love those ones. Just love them. Because I'm like, yep, point proven. So basically, it was talking about like this lazy boy thing where the more that we encourage men to be feminine, like not us, because we're trying to do the opposite, but society, the more that we encourage men to be feminine, the more lazy they become and the more resentment we build towards them. We think that we want these like soft feminine men, and we fucking don't, as you guys would know. That's why you're here. We absolutely do not. But what it's doing is it's raising and training these men for us to be the breadwinners. We are the ones dealing with the house. We raise the kids. Like everything is on us. Right? Like part of feminism has like done us a fucking doozy, because now we put everything on our shoulders and we don't call them out. We don't make them responsible for shit. And so what it's allowed them to be lazy. And then they get this taste of, oh, women are doing it all. Great. Fucking awesome. So then when they get out of that relationship into the next one, they meet you and you want them to step up. They're like, I don't want to step up. So if he doesn't want to be in his masculine, want is different from like able. If he doesn't want to, then no matter how feminine you are, he's not going to want to. Most men want to be in their masculine energy. They won't know what it is. Like when I first met my fiance, he had no idea what masculine energy was. He didn't think he was masculine at all because he wasn't like 6'9", huge fucking muscles and like super alpha male, like rough around the edges with like sleeve tattoos. And he thought that was masculine. When I obviously explained it to him, he's like, oh yeah, I love all of that. Like that's what I like to do. The planning, the organizing, the executing, the leading, etc. So most men are actually very masculine. They just need to be given permission, space, and to potentially redefine what masculinity is. There is an episode I did on the podcast. It's something like what to do when like your man won't lead you or something like that. If you go to the directory, you'll see it. And I talk about the situations of like what to do if he won't lead, and when it's like lost cause, like go find another man, and when you actually can inspire his leadership. So that can be a good one to listen to. So what to do when your husband is stressed/burnt out and doesn't lead because of that? Okay. One, you can't get resentful at him because relationships are a dance. Just like you want him to love you and lead you and honor you and be tender to you, there are also times when you have to do that to him. You want him to do all that kind of like execution, blah, 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 or whatever, so that you can just be softened in your feminine. But what about the times where you just want to take control and you're like, babe, can you just take a fucking backseat right now? Because I know what I'm doing. Like those times when you just want to be the one in control and have him to take a backseat. You then appreciate him just like taking a backseat so you can just be in control in that moment for whatever reason. We have to remember that in all healthy relationships, there is not this like black and white, I'm this, you're that. There has to be space for fluidity, because if he's grieving or his fucking mom has died, what are you going to tell him? Like, get out of bed, like drive the kids to school, execute, go to work, plan a date this weekend? I would hope not, because that is not a healthy relationship. Part of being in a healthy relationship is allowing the flow. of things and realizing things don't need to be the same all of the time. So when he is burnt out and stressed, he can still lead in terms of like making a decision or, booking a dinner date or locking the doors on the house before you guys go to sleep. But you might need to step up a little bit more, but more from the energy of nurturing than leadership. So just remember though that when it comes to polarity in a relationship, don't get so hyperfixated on masculine and feminine that you then don't honor the beauty of what it means to be in partnership with someone and that you have somebody there, you have a teammate there, a partner. So when you're not 100%, they're there to support you. Like that at the end of the day is a relationship. Okay, your top 3 supplements and practices to help soothe the nervous system. Okay, my number 1 practice is my nervous system expansion. If you're a client of mine, if you've been to my in-person immersion, if you've done Queen Alchemy, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, this is just another reason why you need to join Queen Alchemy for the next round. You can go on an extended payment plan already because that changes the game. We do also do nervous system work in MMM level 2 and of course the feminine CEO, so that when you're doing this expansion work, your nervous system can actually hold the next level, because that can be a massive cock block to getting yourself to the next level is your nervous system doesn't actually have the capacity to hold it. I would say though, in terms of practices that every single person can do, number 1, put your feet in the grass. There is scientific research about grounding and how it changes and immediately reduces stress and inflammation in the body. And they've done like human scans of people pre-stepping in grass and then getting in like grass, like the earth or whatever. And the immediate change is actually wild on these scans. So 100% get your feet in the grass. And same with just like getting outside and getting your face in the sun. When it's sunny outside, I make a concerted effort to go outside, even if all I'm doing is grabbing my cup of tea and just walking around the garden for a lap and then coming back inside. I am going outside sometimes and literally just going like this in the sun and putting my face in the sun because I feel like I'm a fucking battery being recharged. Seriously. So those 2. And then the other one that I would say red light therapy. Red light therapy has also been an epic one for me, that I can physically feel my nervous system relaxing and my body relaxing. And you also get the other benefits of red light therapy as well. So that would be the other one that I would recommend. And I recommend the Loom box. It's on my favorite products page right now. Oh, and I got an email from them actually. They're doing like 45% off or something right now. So now is a great time to buy, and you can use my discount code as well. So you'll get like a huge discount. The Loom box, you can use it all around the world. The voltage goes everywhere. So that's like really important because I travel a lot, and it's like this big. So you can fit it in a suitcase. Love the Loom box. That's what got rid of my black eye in literally like 6 days. When I was at my bridal shower this week, people fully forgot about my black eye. They're like, wait, what the fuck? You look completely normal. Like, what happened to the eye? And I'm like, I wish I had like a GoPro filming me, because you would have been able to see like this time lapse of the real time bruising just disappearing. In terms of supplements, so not even a supplement, an easy thing for everyone to do is chamomile tea at night. Chamomile tea before you go to bed. It is so soothing to the nervous system. And I take it every single night, but highly recommend. It's also just delicious and just very soothing to the digestive system as well, which is really nice. Skull cap is also really good for your nervous system, as well as lemon balm. So they're not supplements, they're herbs, but they'd be really good things for you to also potentially take. Ladies, it's with great pleasure that I am announcing that Magic Money and Manifestation Level 2 is back, and it is open for enrollment until the end of the month, the 27th of September. This program is for those of you that are aware of manifestation, you're aware of money mindset, and you've already done some work on manifesting and money mindset, and you kind of have been manifesting things, you have improved your money mindset, but you really want to take it up a notch, and you do not want a program that just gives you the kind of like fluffy woo-woo journal and like do meditative exercises. You want a program that teaches you what I call embodied manifestation, making manifestation something that is just in your life. You don't need to sit down and journal and, do all of these certain practices in order to manifest. Those are the add-ons. If you can do them, amazing, but they're not like necessary in order for you to actually obtain your dream life. So Magic Money and Manifestation Level 2, it is a fully channeled program. It is not the regurgitated or run-of-the-mill concepts and teachings that you can get from Google or other programs. And what I love about this program is that every single module, it has this beautiful blend of the channeled parts, the intuitive parts, and then of course, because you guys know me, the very, very actionable and more logical parts. So I'm giving you guys the energetics and the fluff and the woo-woo, and it's going to land and like activate inside of your body. You will not find the teachings inside of MM2 in other programs. They are fully unique, fully original, and fully kind of done my way and delivered in a way that allows you to have embodied manifestation, not to make manifestation an added thing onto your to-do list. How would you recommend taking feedback from your therapist? Mine stated you show evidence of having lower capacity for intimacy. So I want to preface, I actually messaged this woman asking for more context so that I could then, give like a good answer. And basically she was able to tell me, and this isn't the case for every therapist, guys, but it is something that I just hear over and over and over and over and over again from my clients of like, Jesus, I was in therapy for X amount of years, came to you and I got more out of one session or one Queen Alchemy call or this program than I did in years of therapy. So in this situation, it's just the classic case of like opening up things that just frankly don't need to be talked about, overthinking, like in a sense of overthinking. It's not, oh, just suppress trauma and move on with your life. You guys know I'm not about that. But what you need to understand is that sometimes the more that you talk about something, the bigger of a problem you then create for yourself. Like you start dwelling, you start analyzing because you're sitting there being told to essentially analyze it. And for this particular client, you know, she'd worked on all of these things before. So I even said to her, I said, I don't think you need to bring things up because what's one of the things that we'd worked on is actually over communication for her. This is something that I've talked about for you guys on podcasts, and it's also in embodiment of dating number 2 is around this piece of like over communication, where in relationships, sometimes we can think that more communication is better, but actually it can turn into over communication. And that's where you then slip into chronic overthinking and you start finding things that aren't even there. You start nitpicking things that like don't fucking exist, and you create a problem that doesn't actually need to turn into a problem. But more importantly, you then make your nervous system more dysregulated and your partner also starts to feel more unsafe because they're being like so fucking analyzed and you're making something into a bigger deal than it actually needs to be. So if I was in a therapy session and a therapist said to me, you show evidence of having a lower capacity of intimacy with no, like, here's what we're going to do. Here's some somatic healing. Here's this. I would be firing that therapist because all that's doing for you is making you feel like you have a problem with no solution. Okay. And based on what I know, what she was talking about, this is also important. Like the context of this is really important. She'd just been talking with her therapist about like, a few kind of little fights that her and her partner were having and whatnot. And this is kind of what he came up with. Ladies and gentlemen, it is normal to be having some little fights in relationships, especially if you're going through season changes in your life. And it is so normal to want to just talk about them. And talking about them and wanting to find a solution for them or trying to like just get them off your chest does not mean that you have a lower capacity for intimacy. Because what you need to understand is if you are finding yourself in, let's say, arguments, and as a result of the arguments, you're feeling more and more closed off or distanced from your partner. That doesn't mean that you have a low capacity for intimacy. That tells me you're not feeling seen or heard or understood in the argument. And so you are shutting off, not because you don't have the capacity for intimacy, but because your nervous system is trying to protect itself. Your body is trying to protect itself. So you got to be careful when, these kind of like sentences and labels are just thrown on you, because I am very big on not putting labels, not putting these kind of like, this is you, this is this is him, blah, 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 because we are always changing in every moment. And how you show up in one moment and what you feel in one moment is completely different in the other moment. So in that moment, you might have had a lower capacity for intimacy for fucking obvious reasons, but then a day later, you're completely fine, right? And so I think it just comes down to, we need to remember, and I talked about this in the episode that I did of like the dark side of personal development. I would highly recommend that everybody listens to that if you haven't already. I am a big believer of there is a line when it comes to self-help and personal development. And when I say there's a line, I mean that you need to make sure that you don't cross over that line of starting to find problems that don't exist because you think that you're trying to help yourself rather than being okay with just living the human experience. And that human experience means sometimes shit doesn't go your way. Sometimes you don't get your needs met. Sometimes you're having arguments, but it doesn't mean that there is like something wrong with you inherently, right? Again, context exists, but just remember, like talk therapy most of the time, unless you're like really in victimhood and like you're at the very, very beginning, and that can obviously be helpful for you to like take some ownership and just to talk about problems. You've got to remember that I have seen this just for so many years. I've seen clients come to me after years and years and years of talk therapy, and talk therapy can cause you to start to overthink and become a victim rather like, the world's out to get me. It's their problem, like blah, 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 because you're in this like venting adrenaline release. And this adrenaline release can give you this like kind of fucked up power thingy where it's like you feel like you have more of the power. You feel like you're above the other person or better than the other person because of the vent that you've had. So you've got to be careful. You want to make sure that you're working with someone that has the ability to be like, whoa, 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 let's get the context here. Like, how did you actually show up? What did they actually say? Not just siding with you all the time and what you're saying right in this moment when you're heated. I go on this forever. But what is your mentality behind the structure to do all that you do? Okay. Number one, I fucking love my job. So like that makes me obviously very, very motivated. And I'm assuming you mean like I get a lot done in the day. I'm just like executing. I'm putting out a lot of things kind of all at once. Number one, you got to remember, like maybe not you got to remember because not all of you have been here forever. A lot of the programs that I'm still releasing or that I'm still running or launches that we're doing, I've been doing them for like 4 years. So the Feminine CEO, for example, these bonus modules or this bonus content is coming out tomorrow and is available until August 29th. This bonus content is fucking fire. I cannot even. Anyway, I've been doing this program since the very beginning, like February, I think, of 2019. So like 5 years. So, it's not like I'm creating a new program every single year. Some of them are new, obviously. MM2 that's coming out, Magic Money Manifestation Level 2 that's opening up in September. I've been doing that since 2020. So the structure in a lot of it is a very much like rinse and repeat. And then we're just elevating, we're adding, we're refining, we're making things better. I could never do like this many launches in a year or run this many programs in a year if it was all new programs. Last year was the year where I finished creating any new programs I wanted to create because I knew I needed them to be done so we could just focus on refinement this year and whatnot. So the mentality behind the structure to do all that I do is my structure, my masculine structure and my systems are designed to make my body feel more relaxed, which is why it's really important that you don't just think that like, oh, if somebody has this structure or if somebody has this system, I should implement that too. Because if that doesn't relax your nervous system, if that doesn't feel good for you and actually help you to achieve your unique goals, then it's defeating the purpose. So, for one person, it could feel really, really good to outsource like invoicing, right? Or to create a system or an automation around invoicing. But for another person, they actually want to stay really close to their invoicing. And so they still do it all manually because that feels good to them and that fuels their creativity. So I don't know whether that answers it, but the mentality behind the structure to do all that I do is like this structure is designed not so that I can necessarily be always doing more. I mean, I have more coming up. The structure is also there so that I can do less, so that my days can have a little bit more spaciousness in them because I've run this business and I've been so hands-on in this business for 7 years. So it's kind of time that I'm like, all right, I want to be able to like chill out for a few hours during the day if I want to. Like I've earned that as an entrepreneur. Like that's the whole point of like why we also create our own businesses is to have that sense of freedom. So yeah. Okay. And then on this one, next question is, could you provide some examples of masculine structure in your business, please? Okay. So a little example of masculine structure is we have SOPs that are all templatized. And so as a result, instead of having to come up with an SOP every single time we're launching something and then going through all the nitty gritty and then realizing we fucking forgot shit and blah, 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 we are able to use these templates that already have the assignees added. So like it automatically assigns it to the right team member. There's already details in the description of every single one. All the instructions are there and whatnot. And so nothing's like getting missed or forgotten. And so when we then do a new launch, for example, like, even just opening up the Feminine CEO with these bonuses, we are able to literally just like click this template and then it auto populates into our project management system and everybody's assigned the correct thing. And then we can obviously add little pieces that we need to add for this specific thing. So that would be an example of masculine structure. Well, that's more of like a system, but the structure is the SOP. So we're not like thinking of what we have to do every time we do a launch or we do anything. Like it needs to be already in an SOP and we're just basically, bringing the template over. And actually that is a module of how that all works inside the bonus material of the Feminine CEO. Another example of masculine structure would be like my capacity planner. Like the reason why I know that I can't take any more one-on-one clients for the rest of the year, like my one-on-ones are full for the rest of the year. The reason I know that is because of my capacity planner. And my capacity planner is an Excel spreadsheet. The template is inside the Feminine CEO. It literally, the module is titled capacity planner. And this has been like my ride or die. I personally value this capacity planner at like $1 bajillion because it allows me to know that I'm not going to all of a sudden be burnt out in October because I've overbooked my schedule accidentally, because I think, oh, I can just add some more, like whatever. And that happens to people as you're starting to book up ahead of time. And as you haven't like accounted for things happening in life, not just business, but also personal life, you then reach your capacity, don't know it, and then all of a sudden you're burnt out. So my capacity planner allows me to know that I'm at capacity for the rest of the year. So now if someone wants to book one-on-one with me, they can, but they're looking at March next year because that's my next opening. So that would be another thing in regards to masculine structure that we use. But like we have so many, and like it's been a game changer because it takes out the decision making. And the decision making is often the most exhausting thing in business and just like being a woman, like making a decision all the time. Will you do more immersions in Europe? I think so. I love doing the immersions in Europe and just like, because Europe's the best. I think so. But I wouldn't say we'd be doing anyone in Europe anytime soon. Somebody else asked, how are you thinking of formatting the immersions in the future? I honestly have no freaking idea. I have so many ideas. I've written them all down. We've got different concepts. It's just like, if you've been to the immersion, you know how much goes into it. It is so demanding on my brain, my body, my energy, like my team, everything. So demanding. It looks so simple, like we just throw it together for 3 days. It is so demanding. And because, I want to become a mom soon and I've got the book coming out next year, it's actually been quite a head fuck because normally like I'm planned a year in advance. So we kind of know what's coming up. And there's so many unknowns with like timelines that it's just left me being like, right, well, I have 10 bajillion ideas, but I can't execute on any of them. So my head's just very full. So, yeah, don't have any like solid ideas, but I've got ideas. How do you stay abundant in economic downturn and people being worried about a recession? Okay, I feel like this is the topic of conversations. I've heard like 3 people in my life be like, oh my God, the stock market. I'm like, it's going to go back up. Like, I don't understand why we're playing the short-term game when we all know the stock market is about the long-term game. But anyway, so whatever. People freak out when there's a kind of economic downturn. And I know that things have been, I don't know, scary and whatever for people right now. So let's actually walk through this because this is important for us all to understand. So you create your life based on your beliefs, right? And I know this might sound very just kind of like naive and like, oh, she's a blonde bimbo, but it works. So take it or leave it. I do not believe that myself or my fiance, like us, we are not available to be a part of that recession. Like that, you choose what you buy into. You choose what you're available for. So of course, the recession will affect some people, but it's also not going to affect other people. You look at COVID, for example. In COVID, there was some crazy number of the amount of businesses that were created that year, and the amount of entrepreneurs. It was the amount of entrepreneurs, something that became millionaires that year, because when everybody else is freaking out, you have the opportunity to up level. There is an infinite amount of resources in the universe, right? Like there really, because abundance is just like raining from the sky. It's not a finite resource. abundance is everywhere. I like to kind of think of it though in terms of, okay, well, let's just say that there is like an energetic capacity and we're all in the energetic capacity. And when some people are taking up more capacity in one thing, it leaves less capacity for another thing. Roll with me on this, guys. When a lot of people are thinking, oh my God, recession, recession, save, 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 hoard, hoard, scarcity, scarcity, scarcity. Okay, well, they're all hiding. So you have time to fucking shine, baby, right? You have time to get big. You have the spaciousness now because there's less people doing it. Okay, to now go and make big moves. During recessions, during times of economic downturn, that is when people will also make the most amount of money. That is when people then start to become millionaires and billionaires, if you look at the statistics, because everybody else is freaking out and they're thinking, fuck yeah, opportunity here. Because there's less people kind of like crowding the energy, if you will. So there's more space for them to do their thing. I'm not saying this, I'm just trying to use like an example, like I'm trying to like paint the picture. I'm not saying that there's a limited amount of space or, you know, some people have to be down in order for you to have space to shine. That's absolutely never, ever, ever the case. There's always space for all of us to have massive bright lights. But if you just think about it logistically, like just think logically, because you're needing a logical answer with this, which is why I'm going logic. I'm not going woo woo. I'm going logic right now. People are freaking out, right? People are hiding. You have the spaciousness to now go big. So when everybody else is thinking, oh my God, recession, 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 this is the time when you're thinking abundance, 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 abundance. You also need to realize that like what you choose to surround yourself with and what you choose to also opt into then becomes your reality. So if you're also choosing to believe that you are going to be a victim to a fucking recession, guess what? You are going to be a victim to a recession. Instead, if you believe I'm not available for that, like literally, it's not possible for me. I know that sounds kind of like weird for me to say, but I am like, oh, that's not possible for me. This morning in bed, my fiance was literally like talking about this and he was looking at the stocks. He's like, oh my God, babe, this is bad. I'm like, not for us. Like, we don't buy into this. And he kind of, the first time I told this to him was when we first started dating. And there was also like, oh my God, a recession's going to happen. This was in like 2022 and everyone's like freaking out. And it was fine. Like, we're all still here. We're all alive. It's all good. But that was when he really didn't understand any of this. Like, he wasn't working with me. He still was like trying to just grasp what the hell I did. And I just said to him one day, like, I think it was in the car or something. I was like, oh, I'm not available for that. And he was like, no, babe, like, you don't get to choose that. Like, do you understand? Like, a recession affects everybody. And I was like, no, it doesn't. And he's trying to logically explain. And I'm like, yeah, of course. I understand a recession. Like, I'm not choosing to be like, oh, I opt out, but I am. Energetically, I'm choosing to be like, oh, I opt out. Like, that's not actually part of something that I subscribe to. Unsubscribe, tick, ding, goodbye. And I then go and choose to live the way that I want to live. So for all of you that are allowing yourselves to be absorbed into other people's beliefs and other people's shit, that stops now. You are not available for any part, for being being involved in this like recession, economic downturn. Things are bad. Things are great. Things are fucking great for you. And like I said before, this is the time for you to put your head down and for you to actually create your dream life when everybody else isn't. It's like the supply demand, right? Okay. There's less demand for creating your dream life. So there's more availability to you. So you go and fucking take that because there's less people that you have to fight against for the actual space. Not that there is a limited amount of energetic space, but you get what I mean. Yeah, even though it could seem like to your brain, like now is the worst time to spend money. Now is the worst time to invest. Now is the worst time to join like a business program or a manifestation program. I'm over here like, do you want a successful business? Because now is the best time. Do you want to create your dream life? Now is the best time. Like, now is the best time. Because also, if you can create during these times when everybody else around you is like freaking out and like just wallowing in like whatever, if you can create during this time, imagine what you can create during good times. Seriously, if you can create during the times when everybody else is freaking out and people's energy around you is just like meh and you're, protecting your energy, then imagine how good things are going to get for your business and for your personal life when things get good again. Okay. So just play into that. Oh, let me do this one. This is a bit of a change of pace. Like, I'm getting sweaty. It's fucking hot in here. I need the aircon on. All right. How do you not stress about seed oils, etc. when out? Oh, my hair. When out, for example, your bridal shower. How did that go for you? Okay. Well, one, I opt for going to Europe. That's why I love living in the US because I'm so close to Europe. Whereas obviously living in Australia, you have to basically fly to the moon and back. So that's number one is I opt for Europe. Number two is I'm big on like the placebo effect. So I'll tell myself shit's cooked in olive oil, even if I don't know that it is. So I will like pretend that I can taste the olive oil and I just placebo it. Another thing also is generally speaking, if you're eating at like fancy Mediterranean restaurants, Italian, Greek, etc., they're going to be cooking in olive oil because a really good Italian or like Greek chef, they would never ever, ever cook in anything other than extra virgin olive oil. So that's that. But I also will opt for like food with less oil. So when I'm out, so a steak, like grilled fish, I'm not having some deep fried shit. I'm not eating fries, you know, I'm not doing that kind of stuff. So I also just pick and choose when I'm going out. Obviously in Europe, it's super easy. That's also why you guys will find that when we're skiing, for example, and when we are traveling a lot in wintertime in the US and we're skiing, is we're always staying at a house. And we stay at a house because I need to cook. This bitch needs to cook. I do not want to be at an American hotel where more often than not, they're cooking with bad oil and there's glyphosate sprayed all over the fucking food. And it makes my tummy really, really upset. In Europe, I would prefer to stay at a hotel because the quality of the food is so good and because they use good oil. And just like this, that's just like an abundance of fruit and vegetables and healthy food. So that's kind of that on it. But I also, so like the part of how do you not stress, I just don't stress because also if I walk in stressed to that situation about eating seed oils, guess what? I'm walking out with a bloated fucking belly and stomach cramps. So instead, I really placebo and I just believe that I'm eating olive oil. And I honestly swear to God, noticed such a big difference in my mindset when I'm sitting down to food. Queen Alchemy girls, you know this as well. Like the energetic component to how you eat your food, relate to your food, stress, all of that is going to then influence how you actually digest your food. Thoughts on wearing daily SPF? I don't. This is like such a fucking argument for people. I do not wear daily sunscreen. You know, I'm not outside in the sun all day on my, like with my face or anything like that. I have been for the wedding, um, wearing a hat more when I go outside just to cover my face, but my body, no. I typically will not wear sunscreen unless I know I'm going to be out in like, you know, the sun and the UV level is really high because it's the middle of summer for like hours. Otherwise, I prefer to build a bit of a barrier in the beginning of summer. Like I'm naturally extremely pasty with like quite a red undertone. So I prefer to build a bit of a barrier not a barrier. I prefer to build a bit of a tan, which will start as a burn, build a bit of a tan. And then I honestly don't burn as much as I used to. And if you look up, I actually did a blog post on this. So if you look up on my website, I did a blog post on this because if you look at the research, you do not need, if you have a high antioxidant rich diet, that is going to be like a natural protector to sunscreen. That doesn't mean don't wear sunscreen. It means that you do not want to be wearing sunscreen all the time and blocking the vitamin D that you get from the sun. Not good. Obviously, if you're out for 4 hours in a day in the blazing heat, like wear non-toxic sunscreen. But it's really interesting the research around like skin cancer and sunscreen use, and then also how like natural like antioxidants in your diet can act as a reliever for sunburn because it's basically just like inflammation. Oh, a reliever for sunburn and also a preventative. So if you go to the blog post, Monica's summer skincare essentials, I talk about this in regards to like free radicals and antioxidants and all that jazz with sunburn and sunscreen. So definitely check that out. Clearing deep-rooted anger and low stress tolerance / no resilience to overwhelm. And actually, if I didn't answer your question, guys, and the question box is still up and you dropped a question in the actual Instagram live, and I didn't answer it, just save your question and put it in the question box on my Instagram stories so I have it there. Because for the next couple days, I'll go through and answer more on my stories, but I need them to like be there to then answer it. So if I didn't answer yours today and it's not already in there, just put it in there so I have it. Okay, clearing deep-rooted anger and low stress tolerance / no resilience to overwhelm. So this tells me, okay, so firstly, let's work backwards. Low stress tolerance, no resilience to overwhelm. Your nervous system is like literally so fucking on edge that when the slightest things happen, like the dishwasher didn't turn on at night, so you wake up and the dishes aren't done. If like, for example, the dishwasher didn't turn on last night and so you wake up and the dishes aren't done and you're then like emotional and like so frazzled and stressed. So that's the low stress tolerance and no resilience to overwhelm. Your nervous system then is essentially so full, so dysregulated, so jacked up, like so whatever it is for you and your kind of unique nervous system and your past and everything, that literally the slightest thing just sets you off. So the answer isn't to necessarily like get rid of like all these things in your life that cause overwhelm, because they shouldn't cause overwhelm. Instead, because a lot of people think the answer is like, oh, I have to like just cut out all of these things, like not do this, not do this, not do this, because it all overwhelms me, and basically just be like a hermit. That's not the answer. The answer is you need to expand your nervous system's capacity to hold more overwhelm. For those of you listening, if you haven't watched the masterclass on the blueprint to feminine embodiment, it's 2 hours. It's so good. And it talks about nervous system. I would definitely watch it. Whoever asked this question, definitely watch it. And then clearing deep rooted anger. So one, you need to obviously figure out what you're angry about. And then two, my anger release like does the fucking trick, and also breath work. My suggestion for you is not to be all love and light. Love and light ain't fucking the answer. When someone signs their email off with love and light, I immediately am like, I hate you. Like I genuinely, not actually, but sometimes I'm like, I really do, because it's so fake. I want to feel your real humanness. I want to see your rage, not through an email, please, but like your rage, your anger. Like I want to feel that. And you need to feel that. So the people that are like, oh, I don't have any anger. I'm like, you have the most anger. And if you're aware that you have this like deep rooted anger that maybe you can't even access, don't try and then access that deep rooted rage like right now. Instead, focus on just giving yourself permission to just see and feel more of you. Like, give yourself permission to cry when you need to cry. Stop trying to be perfect or keep your shit together or whatever it is. Like actually accept and love and see your humanness is my suggestion with that. Oh, okay. I want to answer this one. I really want to answer this one. Okay. And then I'm going to go. So thoughts on abortion medication and things to do afterwards to cleanse and heal the body. So what I'm going to say for this one, support it all. Support it all. Obviously, I'm here for you guys. And you know, that no matter whether you want a baby, don't want a baby, like it doesn't matter what the reason is for this choice. It is a hard thing to go through, and every single reason is valid. I know some people have their opinions on some reasons are more valid than others, and like, you know, it shouldn't be allowed or whatever it is. I am somebody that says, like, I've seen how it affects children and then turning into adults to not have parents that are fully capable of being parents. And so my point is that I was going to do an episode on this, like a full, because when you Google this stuff, there is nothing out there of like how to heal, how to cleanse, there's literally nothing. I was going to do a podcast episode, and then I actually thought it'd be better to do a blog post so you guys can come back to it a little bit more easily as needed. And there's like nothing when you Google it, and I want this to come up in Google. So it's on my to-do list, literally, to write a blog post on everything to do when you know you need to have an abortion, before you have the abortion, during the abortion, and then after the abortion as well, to really support your body and to also just support yourself emotionally and mentally during this time. Okay. So that is coming up. You guys have that to look forward to if you need that, or to send to any friends that are going through that, or just to like keep an awareness that I'm going to create a really thorough blog post for you on that as well. Oh, all right. I have loved doing this with you guys. This has just been so good. I miss doing these, so I'm really glad that I was able to just carve out an hour to sit with you all and do it. I would have loved a resource like that when I went through mine. Yeah, I'm aware that like women need this. There is literally fucking nothing. It just tells you to like go to a clinic and that's it. Like you'll be bleeding for a while or whatever it is, depending whether you took the medication or whether you had a D&C. And I'm like, anyway, so I'm going to be creating that. So even if you aren't having an abortion, if you know anybody else that is, that would be incredible for you guys to just forward that on, because women do not have the support that they need in regards to that area. All right, everyone. I hope that you all loved that little Q&A. I love doing my Instagram live. It's actually been a while since I did one, so I was really glad that I was able to jump on before I took my time off and give you guys one. There is so much coming when I come back from my wedding, but also I have no fucking idea what's coming. So we're in a bit of la la land right now, but in a really good creative way. We actually had like a massive brainstorming session as a team. Well, minus my fiance, because he was like, I don't need to talk about that. He does the guy stuff, not the creative stuff. So we had a brainstorming session before I left, and my God, like there is just so many good things, especially in person. Even though like we're planning to be pregnant and all these things, I'm also like, there's got to be a way where I can be doing all of that in person still. And I don't know about you, but I feel like so many people these days are realizing like, okay, the kind of all online shit was fun and cute and a vibe for about 3 seconds after COVID. And now we're just all craving human connection so badly. And a lot of us are realizing that we get so much more from in person. Like the ROI on, which is return on investment in person, is higher for a lot of people than online. And I'm one of those people because as a busy woman, like I'm part of different groups online, and it will take me months to watch a recording because I just keep forgetting if I haven't been able to show up live to it. And whereas like in person, it's like you've carved out the time, you're so focused, you're so present, you're so intentional, and you just get so much out of it. And the energy is just like, oh my God, so good. So many of you have said to me that have done Queen Alchemy before or even done any of my other programs. You're like, Monica, I've always felt your energy. This is word for word. The amount of you that have said this, I cannot like even deal with. When you've come to the immersion, you will say to me, Monica, I have complimented you so many times, like on how amazing your energy is online. Like your energy is fucking phenomenal. And that's what like got me here. But your energy in person is like unexplainable. That's this like consensus of what people have said over and over and over again, which is obviously a huge compliment. And thank you guys so much for when you say that. It means a lot to me. And it's also just like, oh, I love in person. Like I miss the immersions so much already. It's only been a few months. So I really hope next year we can do more in person things. All right. I'll see you guys in the next episode.